Shall we play a game?
Good evening, morning, afternoon, or whatever time of day or night it happens to be where you are as you're listening to this. It's currently a rather pleasant evening on the 16th of June as we're recording. Just to give you some perspective, the E3 has just gone. But this is episode 85 of The Next Level. We've been away for a couple of months, primarily because I've been a little bit busy with home life and stuff and haven't managed to think of a topic to talk about. But fortunately, E3 solved that. Well, I say E3, it was E3 and one of my guests, Barry, who suggested the topic because I apparently couldn't even think of E3 as a topic. So we're here to talk about E3, have a look back, just pick out some topics, to some games that jumped out at us, maybe some hardware. We'll find out as we go. So I've said we. So let's introduce ourselves. Who have I got with me? B, I've already said you're here, so you might as well go first.
Hi everyone. It's I don't know, even after 10 years of podcasting, I still wave. And I don't know why I do that.
I've got nothing.
Okay. Yeah, hi. It's me.
Hi, it's Casey, and I'll give a wave too, so Barry isn't the only one waving at nothing.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's jump straight into it then, because were either of you actually following E3 or not? Because I was sort of dipping in and out of different announcements and just following bits of press conferences, but I wasn't really, this year I didn't find myself as engaged with it as I had been in previous years, and I don't know if that's because I'm in a phase where I'm not having the time to game as much, so I'm not getting quite as excited about things, or whether E3 is just becoming normal now. What about you guys?
Yeah, I dipped in. I saw a few games hit the headlines, and if it was something I'd already heard of, it'd be like, oh, it's either that game again that we've heard about for a little while now, or oh, I didn't know that even existed, and now I do. Fantastic, and watch the trailer and then move on. It just didn't really grip me like it does some others.
Yeah, no, I was the same. It's kind of like I think because I haven't been doing much gaming over the last sort of few months. Even though I've bought a load of games, I haven't done much gaming. E3, I kind of passed me by a little bit, whereas I remember certainly last year staying up for some of the conferences and stuff and kind of live tweeting as the conferences were going on and throwing up trailers on the site and getting really excited and stuff like that. And that didn't happen for me in the same way this year. I mean, I didn't even really I think it was when I'd got to work and someone mentioned that Microsoft were bringing out a new Xbox, and I was like, really? I mean, that just goes to show just how out of touch I was with this year's E3. So that was part of the reason why I suggested it to you, Ant, to have a bit of a chat about it, because I thought if nothing else, it would make me kind of go and look at some stuff and see what's going on and what's coming out. Because although I don't game as much, I like to know what's going on. I like to know what's coming out, because there's always that one game that draws you back in, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've kind of like written down a list of things that I would, that I might talk about as the episode goes on. And there's like sort of 13, 14 things on here, which is more than actually, until I've just read it, I thought I only had 3 or 4. So it's quite interesting to see. But as Casey was saying, a lot of them I was already aware of that were coming out. There's only really a couple of games that I had no clue that they were even being made at all. So it's quite interesting. But the other interesting thing is some things have kind of like, and this always happens with these kind of events anyway, but some things have like shot up in my kind of like, ooh, that looks interesting list. And one game which has dropped down quite a lot in my list, and I'll sort of start off talking about this maybe, is Crackdown 3, which I watched like the trailer for, which was just batshit with Terry Crews. And then I watched the sort of gameplay demo that they showed, and they've got like basically a 10-minute kind of cause as much chaos as you can mode that was running on the E3 show floor, and I watched a couple of different streams of that, well, a couple of different videos of that, and it looked like they turned Crackdown, which was always a little bit crazy, let's face it, but it seems to have gone really down the Just Cause route now. And you've got like black hole singularity guns and things that you can find, and really crazy far out weapons, and I don't know, it seems to have lost something of what I personally loved about the first Crackdown, which was that feeling of just being a super-powered cop, effectively. And, yes, you were gunning down bad guys left, right and centre, but they were definitely bad guys and they deserved it. I was taking them out because they were in a base and I wanted to get in that base. And it seems now it's more just a case of just run round and blow stuff up because you can. And that, that to me isn't what a law enforcement agency should be about. And the thing I loved about Crackdown was I was a cop. I wasn't a robber like in GTA. And that's why I like Sleeping Dogs as well, because you were undercover cop in that. So I was really hyped for Crackdown 3 right up until this E3, and it's released on my birthday, so touch wood, I may actually get it as a present. I don't know, but yeah, it was something that before this year I was really amped up about. B, I know you were a fan of the original Crackdown as well, weren't you? Did you see anything of Crackdown 3?
Yeah, I was as you were talking, I was kind of nodding all the way through that because I watched the trailer for it today. Now, I got to preface this by saying I love Terry Crews. I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think he can't do no wrong. But I watched the trailer and I was kind of like, what's this?
Yeah.
Well, why is Terry Crews in this? Why is he just shouting at me? Why does he keep shouting boom all the time? I don't know what's going on. And then, you got the trailer, which was effectively, it was just boom. That's the best way to describe the trailer, really. And I was a bit like you. I was kind of, by the end of it, I was just a bit shell-shocked. And I was kind of like, I wasn't really that interested in the game. I mean, I saw other trailers for other games that I thought looked really cool. But I thought, for me, Crackdown 3 was going to be a no-brainer because I liked the other two games. Now, maybe it's just the way they've cut the trailer, to be fair to it. But it just
didn't grab you.
It didn't do anything. No,
yeah.
No, I wouldn't. For me, if I had it, I mean, I haven't got it on pre-order, but for me, if I'd had it on pre-order and I'd watched that trailer, I would have taken it off pre-order.
Yeah, I'm the same, because I was going to pre-order, but I wanted to know when it was out first. And it was only because they revealed at E3 when it was out. But, and for me, that would be a no-brainer kind of thing to either buy myself for my birthday or to demand that Amy buys me for my birthday. But yeah, I didn't lose interest, but I just thought I'm going to have so many other games to play at that time of year that I'm not bothered about getting it at launch. And the other thing that surprised me was they seem to have like back in 2014, 2015, because they announced it with Xbox One originally with like the Destruction trailer, and in 2015 I remember part of the conference was talking about destructibility and the cloud computing to get all the make sure the world was fully destructible. And none of that seemed to be there in the demo that they were showing. It was, people were firing rockets into buildings and the buildings were staying up. So that element of it seemed to have been, I don't know if it's just been beyond them and they've just toned it back, but it was interesting. It just wasn't mentioned at all.
Yeah.
Weirdly, actually, it was kind of like a bit of the trailer. I did actually think this looks really cool, and it was only then when I started watching a couple of gameplay videos of the people doing the 10-minute sort of session that it really kind of thought, I thought, no, this is Just Cause. I can play Just Cause if I want this kind of game. Admittedly, I can do this in co-op, which I can't with Just Cause for some unknown reason. But it just didn't really grab me at all.
I mean, on the flip side of that, and then we go to Casey because I really have just hogged the limelight now, is a game that kind of, I know, personally, I know I won't buy the game, sadly, because of something in the trailer. But I thought, in terms of trailers, I thought that's how you do a trailer. Even if that was a film, do you know what I mean? That's how you do a trailer. And that was Middle-earth, Shadow of War.
Yeah, you see, this I do have pre-ordered.
Yeah, that if I wasn't averse to giant spiders, that I would have added as a pre-order off the back of that trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of been following this anyway because IGN have been doing quite a lot of live streams with the developers where they've been showing off different elements to it. And because Shadow of Mordor was such a surprise for me, I kind of bought it on a whim almost because I just had no games to play at that time. Excuse me, and I bought it on a whim and just absolutely fell in love with it. It was one of my games of the year for that year, and I knew that one actually was okay for you because there aren't really any bugs or anything in that one. But this one, a big element of it seems to be that you can actually recruit giant spiders as well as them be there, and
Why would you? Why?
Well, because fight just fire with fire. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's what they seem to have done is And they did it really well with Shadow Mordor. One of the things I loved about it was it just seemed to be, it was very similar to Assassin's Creed, it was very similar to other games that were out, but that Arkham, the combat was very similar to Arkham combat, but they did it so well, they refined everything, and then they brought in this amazing Nemesis system as well, that wasn't perfect, but you know what, it was a hell of a good test bed for what you could do with AI in games, and how you could make these kind of like antagonizing sort of relationships happen within the game.
Yeah.
And then with this one, they've taken that a step further, and it's not only do you have that, but you also recruit them sort of like, you don't just, when you recruit them, you don't just like bend them to your side, you actually have to keep them loyal, and you put them in charge of forts that you built, that you take over and stuff. And then you've got these massive sieges where you have armies of captains fighting their captains, and just orcs everywhere, and just dragons flying in, and craziness. And it just it's kind of like, I always thought if you were, I mean, I'm not a massive Lord of the Rings fan either, you know, I don't particularly get as enthralled in that world as I would do, but this is the game I'm probably most amped for at the moment. So that always surprises me when something Lord of the Rings really grabs me. But yeah, this just looks phenomenal.
Yeah. And
anything? What about you, Casey? Are you interested in that one, or is that not one you're looking at, or what is one you're looking at?
Well, yeah. As far as the Lord of the Rings game, I played the first one and sort of bounced off it a little bit, but I totally agree with what you said about the satisfying combat, the parries, and the Nemesis system and everything. It did make it very interesting, and it gave you your own sort of story, your own narrative to follow. But yeah, as far as other games, I was most excited by Life is Strange Before the Storm, which was something that, just hearing about, I would have thought, I liked Life is Strange. I thought it was a very good episodic adventure game where your dialogue choices and everything seemed to matter. But until I'd actually seen the trailer of Before the Storm, I wasn't that interested. But once I'd seen the trailer, I'm now really looking forward to it. I mean, I must admit, the actual trailer itself, the girl in it, I actually thought was Max the first watch through, because she had the same colour hair, and it was only at the end of it that I found out it was Chloe, and that it was a prequel, and I was like, what? I had to watch it a second time and really digest what I was reading. But it's interesting to me. I mean, the trailer didn't show a massive amount. It was quite a tease, but it's set 3 years, I think, before the events of the first game, in the period when Max has just left, and you see Chloe before she becomes friends with her friend Rachel. And I'm interested in that because throughout Life is Strange, I really didn't like Chloe. I thought she was a terrible friend. She caused all sorts of problems for Max, and I'm really interested to see what events happened to Chloe to turn her into such a spiky person, and I'm curious if it will turn my opinion round of her as well. So, and it's out in August, so I haven't got long to wait. So it gets a thumbs up from me anyway.
So I haven't played Life is Strange. I've heard about it. I think, did Amy do a review for it on the site?
Yeah, she was certainly going to. I think she actually did one, yeah, because she was going to do a video review, but she did a written one, I think.
And there definitely seems to be a shift in gaming. I think there were always sort of games that were, you know, less action orientated and that sort of stuff. But there definitely seems to be a shift for these sort of different games. I mean, that one seems more like a sort of life game. But it just made me think, sort of, you know, after what sort of you said, Casey, that there just seems to be more of these sorts of games coming out which aren't just straight run and gun or, you know, puzzle solving, or there's just a bit more to them.
Yeah. There's a really big drive at the moment to actually telling stories in different ways in games, and using games as, you know, as an actual narrative rather than just being, you know, an action film that's longer. The narrative style is a lot more powerful, and Life is Strange is a perfect example of that. It just really, it was a nice slow down, change of pace, and you know what, it was making me think about my actions and think about the characters in the game and feel a bit for them. And it is one of those games that it's on my shame pile that I need to go back and actually look at and play, you know, play through properly. And I know Amy, she played through it and absolutely loved it. But there's a lot of games that are coming out that are using gameplay to tell a story or get a point across. Things like, Casey, what's the one where it's set just in the house and you're trying to get to the attic?
Gone Home?
Gone Home. games like Gone Home and even Journey, which is, it's just essentially exploring and you don't really know what's going on.
And the Stanley Parable as well.
The Stanley Parable is another one, yeah. And even things like Papers, Please. They're trying to get that message across about what it takes to drive people into those kind of like, when in that case it's like when you're in a corrupt sort of eastern state and you're making those decisions, what's more important to you, getting paid and making sure there's food on the table for your family, or getting someone with it's a sob story but it's a real life sob story into the country and let them live their lives. There's a lot of that going on at the moment. Interesting though, every game, looking at my list, having said all that, every one of the games I'm looking at are big shooty games where I don't have to think and be a lovely human being.
Well, at least you've got some self-awareness there. Yeah. You can hold a mirror up to your values.
It's half the battle is knowing.
Yeah.
That is one that it kind of, for me, that came out of nowhere as well, because I saw it being announced. I didn't watch the trailer for it, but it did sort of come out of nowhere as being a game that I wasn't expecting. The prequel, and it being a prequel as well, which is nice, and it'll be interesting to see what they do as a gimmick or a mechanic in it. Because obviously with Life is Strange, it was all about Max's ability to rewind time and try things again.
Yeah. So they've said that Chloe won't have special powers. You'll just have her quick wits. But this is going to be done by a different developer to the original. This will be Deck 9 Games rather than Don't Nod. But Don't Nod are apparently planning their own next game as well. So whether that will follow on from the original game. But either way, there could be another couple of games coming in the Life is Strange universe, and that's a good thing in my opinion.
It is a good thing, yeah, because it's a nice franchise and well put together.
Oh yeah, it's stunning, and the photography mechanic in the first game was genius, because that made you slow down and really look at the environment and things like that as well. So
yeah, absolutely. So just a jump in terms slightly. The next game I sort of wanted to look at was another game. I mean, for me, it came out of nowhere, which it's a BioWare game, and BioWare are basically a developer who can just take my money. I mean, they since they opened, really, I've loved everything they put out. I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda is getting slated by a lot of people at the moment, but you know what? It's a solid game, and it's nowhere near as bad as people are making out. I think expectations were far too high, but I'm loving it. It's kind of got me back into gaming, to be honest, recently, and I'm just loving the game. And yeah, it's not perfect, but what is? But anyway, this new game that's coming out is a bit of a shift for them, really, because it's not an RPG, it's not an action RPG. It's a game more like Destiny. It's sort of like a sci-fi co-op loot-based shooter. So you go out, you do missions, you kill things, you get loot, you upgrade your items. But essentially, you're a squad of Iron Man wannabes. In effect, you have big sort of exosuits that you get in, and you go out into a wide world, which is everything's hostile to you. And it's a co-op game, so I imagine there'll be a PvP mode in there, because there always is in these things, because game developers hate me. But yeah, it's generally it's a co-op thing. You go out, you do stuff, and it looked stunning. It looked like an interesting world. There wasn't too much revealed about it. There was sort of like a brief trailer, and then I think about 5 or 6 minutes of actual gameplay, which was like remember the terrible Rainbow Six Siege scripted playthrough that they did?
Oh yeah,
it was like that. So it was like, hey, so which mech suit are you using today? Oh, I'm going for this. And oh, you've got a mortar. Yeah, I picked it up at the weekend, and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, I had to ignore the voices because I was just watching it. It looked really nice, and as I say, it came out of nowhere. And it's slated for release Q1 in 2018, and I'll be interested in just following it a bit more, because as I say, I love BioWare. I really enjoyed Destiny, what I played of it. I didn't play anywhere near as much as everyone else in the world seemed to, but I really did enjoy it, the gameplay of it. So actually seeing BioWare enter that world, and with their storytelling credentials, I'm hoping some of that will come over as well. So I'm really interested in following that one.
So for me, when you talk about take my money, a company that for me is, it escaped my mind now, Naughty Dog. That's it, Naughty Dog. And when I say they can take my money, I bought a PS4, or at the very least talked my wife into buying me a PS4 as a birthday present,
which is better than buying it yourself.
Yes, so I could play Uncharted 4 because that is probably, well, it is. It's my favourite game series of all time. So there was no way I was going to pass up the chance to play the very last Uncharted game on the PlayStation. And I thought that was it. That was done. And then they announced that they were going to be bringing out another. Well, I think it's DLC, but I think it's also kind of like a standalone game. I'm not quite sure how long the game's actually going to be, but it's featuring 2 characters from the Uncharted series. So it's not Nathan Drake. One's Chloe and then one's Nadine. Now Chloe's been in 2 or 3 games.
She was in Uncharted 2 because that's the only one I played, and she was definitely in that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if she was in number 3 or not. I think she might. I could be wrong. And Nadine, who's a kind of mercenary, and she was in Uncharted 4. 2 great characters. So it's basically a spin-off with those 2 characters. And they put out like a sort of full trailer. There'd been a little kind of a snippet trailer that had come out before, a teaser trailer. But this was like a full trailer, and it looks fantastic. I don't know if it's going to be a co-op game or not. I don't know. I haven't really looked into the details because, to me, I don't need to know. It's Naughty Dog. It's Uncharted. I'm just throwing cash at the screen on a daily basis till it comes out. Really. So yes, I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you know when that's slated for release?
Yeah, I believe it's coming out I think it's in August. I've got August the 25th in my head.
Okay, so not far away then.
Yeah. So for me, it's a definite pre-order, and there was nothing in that trailer that was going to make me change my mind.
So what's next for you then, Casey?
Well, going back to, it's funny that you mentioned Gone Home, because one of the games I was going to mention is by their developer, Fulbright, and it's Tacoma. I saw another trailer released from E3, although from what I can tell, it's been in the works for quite a while, so it falls into that category of games we'd already heard of. But I don't know a massive amount about it, but it looks like some calamity happens on some space station. And all the characters in the world seem to be sort of holographic recordings. And I don't know what role the player actually has as a presence in the world. But you go around finding all these different recordings of people living their normal daily lives on a space station. But every now and then looks like there'll be ones like, oh, we're running out of oxygen, what are we going to do, sort of thing. And that just seemed really intriguing to me as trying to discover what happened. I mean, the fact that they're all holograms, I guess we assume they actually all died, and you're just walking along the station trying to get to the bottom of what happened. But as I said, I don't know too much about it. It's just what I gleaned from this latest reveal. But if it's done by the people who did Gone Home, it will hopefully have a gripping story and narrative to follow.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting, actually, more so even than Gone Home, because that, I suppose it's just the inner sort of geek in me, and the fact that sort of that kind of story of trying to find out what's going on, but in space, with potentially the danger of, could whatever happened to these people happen to me as well? That really sort of appeals. As long as it's not a survival horror, I don't want horror. I'm not a horror person.
I think the people you're investigating experienced the horror. I don't know whether it happens to you, but as I said, it's sort of everyone's sort of primary colour characters, and you get the little name things come up, and they're like watching VR recordings or hologram recordings. So you're not looking at real people, just sort of recordings of their actions. So you're a bit removed from things, but I do like me some sci-fi.
No, that sounds quite interesting, actually. I'm going to talk about 2 really, because there's a bit of a theme at the moment for pirate games coming out. Was that your best pirate?
That was my only pirate.
Best, I don't need no other pirate.
Yeah, me hearties.
Because there's things like is it Black Wake and stuff just come out on early access on Steam, where essentially it's sort of be kind of exactly the kind of Star Trek game you want, where you're all working together on a bridge, kind of commanding a ship, but it's on a pirate ship, so you're a crew of a pirate ship going on. There's loads of these games coming out. Some of them like
what? Wait, what? That sounds awesome. What's that on? That PC?
The Black Wake's on PC, which is that. But also Sea of Thieves, which is coming out on Xbox One and PC, is also like that, but it's a bit cartoony in style.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Now, the trouble with that is we know how hard it is, B, for me and you to organise even going to Bolivia, just the two of us, and shooting people.
Point.
Getting a whole crew together on a regular basis is going to be a nightmare. I think you actually only need 4 people to actually crew the ship. So, but you'd still, that's 4 people you need to get together regularly, because you can't. It's not something like, Ghost Recon. If one of us doesn't turn up, we can still play. You can't really do that with this, and it's not something I would want to do with randoms. But Sea of Thieves, I've kind of been following for a while anyway, because it does look really interesting. And there was some nice sort of videos I was watching from E3 where it seems to be almost not quite procedurally generated, but the missions do seem to. It doesn't seem like it's a set world where you just, there are 25 missions in the world and that's all you can do, and once you've done them, you're done. It does seem to sort of like new missions spawn in different places, and it comes from almost like a mission generator, and it's like you find a treasure map and you've got to go to that location, find the treasure. There might be some skeletons there that you've got to fight, and so on and so forth, or pirate hunters might come for you, and all the rest of it. And it looks great, and it's a really nice sort of art style to it. But the other one, which I had no idea about, I think it was only announced at E3, and is due out in not until Q4 2018, so Sea of Thieves is due out Q1 2018, is Skull and Bones, which is... You played Black Flag, didn't you, B?
Yes, I didn't finish it, but I did play it.
But you played it, and you enjoyed the being on the sea, blowing the crap out of the ships bit, yeah?
Yes.
Because you're a human being, everyone enjoyed that, surely. Well, this is essentially Ubisoft have gone, hey, everyone seemed to enjoy that, let's make that a multiplayer experience.
Oh, okay.
But it's still, this one though, you don't need a whole crew for. So if you go on, you can actually, you can control your ship, just you, in the same way as you did in Black Flag. So, you're in one ship, so you'd be in one ship, I'd be in another ship, we'd be working together to go through the missions. The one thing I'm not so keen about with this is, as far as I can tell, it is literally just PvP, so it's one crew, one gang of pirates against another. But I say that because that's all they were really showing. But they were talking about pirate hunters coming for you if you caused enough trouble and stuff, which suggests that it's not just PvP, gang against gang, and it'll be almost like an open Caribbean, I suppose, rather than an open world, where things are happening and you'll just be racing other people to get loot, and you may have to fight them, and pirate ships may come in. So it's one that I'm actually really interested in. I've signed up for the open beta for it. But I absolutely loved Black Flag, and I loved the pirate bits in Black Flag so much so that I went out and bought Assassin's Creed Rogue when it came out, which was the kind of the poor, in inverted commas, the poor man's version of Assassin's Creed Unity, because it wasn't available on Xbox One and PS4. It was only on PS3 and 360.
Yeah.
But I bought it because it had more of the ship stuff in, which Unity didn't. So, and I wanted to do more of that. So for me, this is one I'm definitely watching over the coming year, because it just looked really good. It looked really visceral, the combat, and it seems more tactical in that, it's not just who's got the biggest ship, it's who can actually, use the wind the best and get into the best position tactically, like a proper sea battle. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by this one.
Cool. One that I kind of, it's a new IP actually, I think, that I kind of watched. I thought, it looks quite interesting. It's another sort of co-op one. It's called A Way Out. Have you heard of that one?
I saw something about it, but I don't think I'd actually looked into it.
Yeah, same here. It's done by the dev who did Two Brothers, isn't it? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And that was a decent game.
So it's basically the elevator pitches, and it obviously depends if you've seen Prison Break. Basically, Prison Break the game. So you're two sort of different sort of characters in prison, both want to escape, and they have to work together to escape. And it actually looks really cool. It looks quite different. For me, it was just the idea of the working together stuff. And obviously, it would depend on... I'm assuming it will be co-op, but it's whether or not, if you're playing it on your own, it's an AI character, and how well
they do.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's AI.
Yeah, if it was like that and they were terrible, it'd be one long escort quest, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And that they don't tend to go that well. They're really frustrating. So
yeah, it's how a lot of those games pan out, though, isn't it? They have so many promises, and then the AI is just not up to it.
Obviously, the big news is we've got a new console coming.
Indeed, and released on my birthday. Just putting it out there. You don't have to, both of you, just club in and buy me one. But you do have to just click in and buy me one.
That's good because it's not happening.
Well, you say that now, but I think when you've slept on it, you'll realise that it might.
Once I've slept on it, I'll probably say it with probably more swear words.
Yeah. With real gusto.
Yeah. So this is the Xbox One S?
X.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Xbox One X.
Why didn't they just keep Scorpio? Scorpio sounded cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
This is what happens when you go from Xbox 360 to Xbox One, which everyone said at the time. Why are you going from 360 to One?
Oh yeah.
You know, and now it's kind of like, right, what we're going to call it? Let's call it Xbox X. Right. I'm really interested to see in sort of 6 years' time when they come up with another console, what they're going to call it then.
Well, we'll have the Xbox 3X, 1X, 2X, 360, X, 4.
Yeah. Or just Bob for sure.
Or Bob, yeah. Do you know what? If they released a console called Bob, I'd buy it.
I would as well.
Especially if you could just go Bob on. Bob off.
Bob on, Bob off. And when it crashes, oh, Bob.
Yeah.
Bob!
So, what are you guys thoughts? I mean, I don't know a great deal about it, other than the fact, is it going to be about 400? It's about 450 quid or something.
$449, I think. Look, $499, 450 quid, I think, is what they said.
Right, okay.
That's according to what I saw on the BBC website earlier. That's spot on.
Which is quite pricey, but then again, it is a very, very powerful machine. I thought Scorpio, though, was going to be all about interchangeable components. It's almost going to be like an upgradable console, which they didn't really focus on a lot. They just focused on the fact that it's massively powerful and can give you full ultra 4K HD stuff without dropping a single frame and all the rest of it.
And isn't the 4K stuff, you don't need to have a 4K TV?
Yeah, well, obviously you do if you want it 4K, but it actually kind of like almost upscales. So it makes you, and also the entire Xbox One back library will run on it straight away. And from what they were saying in the conference, I think your 360 games that you've got on Xbox One currently still will as well. But what they were saying was they actually found when they were putting together the new architecture for the console that they found ways of making the current Xbox One games look better and run faster without. It was just something that they hadn't, an avenue of development they hadn't looked at before, and that Sony haven't done with the PlayStation either. So it just made them, they can make the games look better as well, which is quite nice. So yeah, it's. I mean, it just looks like a new console. Do we need a new Xbox One yet? I don't know. It's kind of a waste of money if you don't have a 4K TV. I say a waste of money, that's the wrong word, because part of me does want one. However, that's just because it's a new console, and Sony still haven't convinced me to buy a PS4 yet. Although Spider-Man still looks amazing. But yeah, I don't know. It's if you've got a 4K TV, I think it's definitely the way to go, because by all accounts the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One S aren't. They're not 100% kind of thing, and this looks like it could be based on the numbers alone. So yeah, it's interesting. I think it's too early to come out with it. I think they could have waited a couple of years till 4K was actually something that people were adopting more. But that's just my opinion. What about you, Casey? I mean, you.
Since I upgraded my PC a couple of years ago, I'm all in the PC gaming camp. So I've still kept my 360, and it hasn't been turned on for about 2 years now. So that probably says all you need to know. But no, I think the Xbox One X, on paper and everything, it does sound like a beast. I mean, I was reading the lead up to it, and all sort of 12 gigabytes of RAM and all the teraflops and everything that it's meant to have. It does sound like a nice jump from the Xbox One, not just a revision like the PS4K seems to be above the PS4. Or no, sorry, it's the Pro, isn't it? PS4 Pro
PS4
or something.
Pro, yeah, I think.
See, this is what annoys me. All the names.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to look this up, and I googled, is the Xbox One X what used to be called Scorpio? Because I just did not know. And even the first few articles I read on it didn't say. And I thought, don't say. I thought, where's the Scorpio? Is that coming out as well? And it does my head in. I mean, from someone who hasn't actually bought any of the current gen consoles, it is quite an attractive proposition if it turns out to be as beastly as it looks. As I said, if you've already got an Xbox One or a PS4, I'm not sure. And as Ant said about 4K TV, I haven't got a 4K TV. So, it opens the way to getting one, I suppose. If you buy the console, if only I had a 4K TV to run it on, hint, hint. You can get, my birthday coming up sort of thing, going with your loved ones. And it might be a way to ease into a 4K, but I don't know.
I did joke to Amy earlier. I joked about the Xbox One X is released on my birthday as a massive hint, and her response was, "But we don't need one." Which, okay, yeah, fine. And then literally 10 seconds later, but then I suppose we could give Cara an Xbox One, rotate them round. And I'm not sure if she quite needs her own Xbox One yet. I mean, she's 2.5 and she's just vaguely started playing Lego games and Disney Infinity. By which I mean she just kind of holds the controller and occasionally moves the character around a bit and then laughs when she makes them jump. But it's a start,
For me, I think I might get shut down in flames. For me, I think it's too soon because, and I think things have changed slightly now because I very much view my Xbox One as a home entertainment setup, which is obviously how Microsoft were pitching it in the first place, so they've kind of steered away from it a little bit now because I have it wired into everything. It's wired into my Virgin Media. I have my Netflix, my Amazon Prime running through it. Obviously, I have my games running through it. But I buy my games digitally now, so basically everything entertainment-wise goes through my Xbox One. And if I'm gonna be expected to kind of get another console, set all that up again, which might not seem like much to do all that, but it's still an effort to do, then I want to know that I'm going to be getting bang for my buck. And unless it's the same with any new console, it's never up to par straight off the bat anyway. They haven't announced any games that are specifically for that yet, have they?
Everything's basically going to be 4K, but will still run on the normal Xbox One. So like Crackdown 3, there was a racing game, I can't remember which one it was, that was vaguely announced for it. But that game's actually coming out before it does anyway. It's coming out in October. So.
Yeah, I mean, whatever they're saying, basically what they're saying is they're taking games that were developed for the Xbox One, because Crackdown's been in development for years, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're taking games that are developed for the Xbox One and upscaling them.
It's the same as what they did. Remember when the 360 came out? Because you wound up with Call of Duty 3 was on the Xbox and the Xbox 360. So it's a similar kind of scenario to that, but I think a bit more seamless maybe, because you'll still be able to play all those old games.
Yeah. So again, it's that thing of I need to see what games are going to come with that are going to be specifically for Xbox One X and what they look like. And I think I'm kind of moving away from things just being about great graphics.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm right there with you with that.
We've got to start, and weirdly, and some of the stuff that Casey's been reviewing for the site, like you were saying, like that, is it Papers, Please? Was that what game?
I did mention that, yeah.
Yeah, and games like that, and even like Life is Strange and stuff like that. That's almost where I'm coming from now when I think about next generation. It's not next generation as in, oh my god, look how great those graphics are. They're kind of coming out of the screen. It's not even like VR. It's almost next generation of thinking, different types of games that we wouldn't necessarily have tried to do sort of, 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
Appealing to sort of different age groups, different markets, that sort of thing, rather than just another Call of Duty. Don't get me wrong, the new Call of Duty looks wicked, but rather than just another Call of Duty game, but this time it's in 4K, but let's be honest, as great as it looks, under the bonnet it's still going to be a Call of Duty game. You know what you're getting. What I want to see from a new console is something that is going to be just wow me in the fact of some of the ideas that it's coming with are different, rather than just a bit of the Emperor's New Clothes. It's just the same old, but just in a different wrapper. Even like the VR stuff, I was really tempted by the PlayStation VR, largely because of the Star Trek game. But I haven't got mates that are going to shell out that kind of money that are going to be around regular enough to sort of do the Bridge Crew game, which I really like the look of.
Yeah.
But even that, at least that's a step in the right direction. But with a lot of these things, you have to be really, really careful because you can end up shelling out money on the VR and it just goes away.
Mm.
Yeah, VR still hasn't proved itself, in my opinion.
No,
not yet.
It's still, the games still feel like slightly long
we've got
demos.
now, but yeah, they're either tech demos or they're just what we've got now, but you can actually move your head rather than, to move your mouse, kind of thing.
Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, it's a brave move to be bringing out a new console. Yeah.
And the other thing as well is I kind of feel like we're at a point now where I don't really want games to look any more realistic. When I'm shooting someone in the face, I kind of want to know. I want to be able to disassociate from it being a real person. I'm not that much of a psychopath.
Yeah, Westworld spot all that for me.
I think I do like how games are getting more realistic, photorealistic in some ways. I mean, GTA 5 is gorgeous to explore that world, and personally, I don't mind that. But it depends on the game. I mean, you can go and play GTA 5 and go, "Oh, I feel like I'm there," and then as Barry said, you can pay Papers, Please, or Gone Home, or something like that, and it's not as photorealistic, but it's gripping in a different way.
Because the thing with me is that a lot of it's about immersion, and immersion for me isn't about it looking amazing. It's like there's been a lot of backlash on Mass Effect Andromeda for the facial animations and stuff, but I'm barely noticing them because I'm just getting hooked in the story and the gameplay.
Yeah.
So things don't need to look amazing, and you don't. I mean, The Witcher 3's got amazing facial animations, but and it doesn't compare. But yeah, for me, it just doesn't need to be that realistic looking. So I'm with B. I'm thinking more about different ways of playing games, which is why the Nemesis system in Shadow of War really appeals to me, and where they're going down. And I thought that was going to be taken up by every game going. I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 would have it, and Far Cry would have it, and all the rest of it. It just seems to have not been picked up, or the developers haven't worked out how to do it. Maybe, I don't know. Those kind of different ways of thinking just are what are getting me excited, I think.
Okay. Yeah, well, the last game I was going to mention was the new Metro Exodus. It will be the third Metro game, and I found the first two really engrossing. Once I was able to get into the sort of the world of sneaking through subways, shooting mutant rats, and dealing with nasty bandits and all that kind of stuff. The actual new trailer for the new Metro shows a bit of the gameplay, and the thing that actually impressed me the most in it wasn't the graphics, it was the interaction between the main character and his environment. As he bends down and picks up some ammunition, he puts a hand against the side of a train cart and picks it up, and a bit later he goes through a window and he just places his hand and steps through in a natural way as you'd expect someone to go through a window. And even though it was meant to be a gameplay trailer, it left me fearful that, because as I said, I appreciate that sort of detail in a game, whether it was just for the benefit of the trailer, because it just looked a little bit scripted in some ways. And I mean, one of my favourite things about the second game, I think the original game improved version got it retrofitted, but was how you had to clean your gas mask with your hands when it got ash on it.
Yeah.
Just a small thing that really drew me into the game. And if you can have characters that seem to be physical in the environment, even a game I bounced off a little bit was the Thief reboot. The character in that was always having his hands over everything. I mean, if he wasn't wearing gloves, you'd think, modern day, they'd find his fingerprints, they'd say, "Oh, we know he stole it. He's put his hands over every surface in the room."
It's that bloody Garrett again.
Yeah. Mr. Fingerprint, as we call him, yeah.
Yeah. Captain Touch'em.
Mr. Feelgood. Oh no, that sounds like a sex pest.
Yeah. Which, to be fair.
Yeah. But I mean, the rest of the trailer looked really encouraging. I mean, as you'd expect, the upgrade in graphics made all the lighting a bit prettier, all the sounds interesting, and you couldn't really fault too much of what was going on. But it just left me hopeful that those little touches will actually dot through the game and make the immersion there for me. But it's still basically a game where you're shooting mutants and that. And as I'm sure they'll still keep the economy system of, do you fire your bullets or do you use them to buy stuff? I mean, there aren't too many games with that sort of economy, which is an extra interest.
That was always an intriguing element to that. I only really played the first one, and I didn't play all of it because I think I rented it on PS3, I think it was. And yeah, it was one of those games that I thought, you know what, this is something I will come back and buy, and I never got round to doing because the world building in it was just really nice. I mean, it was quite linear, the first game.
Yeah. Well, this game is meant to be a little bit linear, a little bit open world, sandboxy survival type thing. It's a bit muddled from what I've read. I haven't got a full understanding, but it won't be as linear as the other. There'll be levels that are open worldy and some that are linear. So take of that what you will. That's my understanding.
So do you know when Metro's released?
Where I found it just says 2018.
So just sometime next year.
Yeah, and it will be on PC. I know that much, but it will be on Xbox One and PS4 as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Cool. Right, we'll just go around one more time, then I'm going to cheat a little bit and just mention one briefly and then dive into something else. And just because, I'm the host, Yabu sucks. But the one I just want to mention briefly is Starlink Battle for Atlas, because I don't know if this is the best idea in the world or the worst. And it's essentially, there was only a trailer for it, and it's not out until Q4 2018. But it's a Toys to Life game. But the toy you play is a spaceship. So you buy little toy spaceships that you plug in, and you're then flying them in the game. But while you're doing that, you can, and they kept showing on a demo it was on the Switch, because it's on the Switch, Xbox One, and PS4. But the spaceship sort of clips onto the Switch controller, which makes the Switch controller really bulky at that point, which I don't think is a great idea. But you can also then switch the weapons out on the fly. So if you suddenly want to use a missile launcher in a mission, you take off, say, your pulse cannon, and you put on a little toy missile launcher, and it detects that and switches it out in the game. And I don't know if that's genius or foolishness. I just can't work out how it's going to work, because in the trailer it looked like you were doing it without pausing, so it's kind of like it was literally on the fly. And I don't know, if I'm in the middle of a dogfight, I kind of expect to have come in with the right weaponry, and I don't want to spend ages looking around for my little toy gun.
You'd have to have them all laid out neatly next to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And know exactly where they were and just be able to grab them. So I don't know if it's genius or stupidity, but it was intriguing, if nothing else. And it's a new way of thinking about Toys to Life games. The fact that it's not just the toy that changes and the ship; it's the what goes on it. So it's a bit next gen thinking. But I figure, B, are you going to talk about Battlefront, or have you got something else?
Do you know what? I wasn't going to. I was going to briefly mention Spider-Man.
Right, okay, that's fine. You do Spider-Man. I'll mention Battlefront now then.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Because I wanted to talk about Spider-Man as well, actually. But
see?
But yeah, so Battlefront 2 is coming out obviously later this year, and this is another one I've actually pre-ordered because there's what looks like a really intriguing single-player campaign in it, and it's the one thing I thought was missing from Battlefront 2 was a decent single-player mode.
Yeah.
But I watched a couple of different YouTube channels playing through. They basically had like a Naboo level on there as almost like the new sort of Walker Assault, I guess, mode, and so it looked stunning. We sort of expect that. I mean, Battlefront 1 looked stunning. They've really switched up the way it works, so it's kind of gone back to almost like a classic Battlefield mechanic, and to be fair, the original Battlefront works, where you have different classes. So there's 4 different classes for each army. So you've got like a general sort of soldier class. You've got a support, I think they call it an operative class, which is like a sniper. Then you've got a heavy class, which you've got like the rapid fire machine gun type jobbies, and then an officer type class, which is more of a support role. So they've gone back to a class-based system, which one of the things I loved about Battlefront, the last one, was you could just jump in and you just took on a role, and it was all based on what equipment you decided to take with you, which I liked. But you know what? This gives you kind of gives you more gameplay in effect, because you can level up the different, or work with the different classes separately. So if you want to play more than one type, you can work with them separately, get a bit more gameplay out of it. So I don't mind that. I think that's quite cool. But the thing that I really liked was they've got rid of the token system, which was a really good idea because it meant everyone got a chance to be Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or fly a TIE fighter or an AT-ST or whatever. But it always felt a little bit forced to me and it took me out of the world a bit of the Star Wars world, where you'd kind of be running along, you'd see a circle, so you'd suddenly everyone would be sprinting for that to try and be Darth Vader, and that always took me out of the game a little bit. And I didn't really spend a lot of time doing that. I used to look around for fighters occasionally, but I never really wanted to be the hero. Whereas in the new version, essentially you have to earn the right to be a hero. So you'll build up points as you play in the game by your kill death ratio, by doing headshots and all the rest of it. And if you've got like 500 points, which is essentially a couple of kills, you can come in as, say, a vulture droid in the examples I was watching. Or if you get 5,000, you can come in as a hero. So essentially, by the end of the game, everyone will have got enough points potentially to come in as the hero. So you'll essentially always have a hero there, and different people will get the opportunity to play it. But there is going to be almost like a queue where I can almost imagine people literally running in to die just so they can try and spawn in as the hero. So again, while personally I think it's a really good change, because I'll spend more time coming in as vehicles or fighters, because I really love the dogfighting element of Star Wars. That appeals to me. Other people I think might just start almost risking the match for the chance to be a hero. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, this is one that I was quite amped up for anyway, because of the single player mode and the fact it's across all the all the movie eras now, which is something that was a bit missing from the last Battlefront. But also, I don't know, just seeing it and the changes they made, they do interest me enough to make me want to keep that pre-order in place. B, you got anything else to say about Battlefront?
No, I think you kind of covered it, other than the fact that I'm probably going to pick this up as well. And like you, my biggest sort of criticism of the other Battlefront game, even though I enjoy it and I've still got it and I still play it occasionally, is the fact that I do like a single player mode. And the fact this game's got a single player mode would be enough for me to pick it up anyway. So, but I saw the trailer and I thought some of the levels, the Naboo level looked amazing. Yeah. So, and I'm hoping we're going to get more kind of dogfighting and more kind of ship action as well, because and some space-based stuff would be cool, because that seemed a little bit lacking in the first game.
They haven't really touched on that really. All the sort of ship in inverted commas based stuff seemed to be just within the normal multiplayer mode. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what other information comes out before November.
You see, now for me, this is an idea of next generation. I know they wouldn't do this, but No Man's Sky. For that game. One of the things that I quite liked about that game was the fact that you could take off from a planet, fly up through the atmosphere and away from it. If they could take that kind of technology and put that within Battlefront, so you could effectively be fighting on the ground, then get into like a X-wing or whatever, and literally fly up through the atmosphere, and then you're out into space, and there's more stuff kicking off. That would be awesome. And then vice versa, you could fly down from your X-wing onto the planet's surface where people are fighting, get out and join the fight. I think that would be brilliant.
Well, funnily enough, Pete, I don't know if you ever saw it, but remember the original Battlefront series? And there was two of them.
Yeah.
Well, Pandemic were developing Battlefront 3, and that was a core element they were developing. There's actually, if you Google it, there's actually a demo, like a tech demo video, which shows just that. So someone gets in an X-wing, takes off into space, and there's a space battle going on at the same time as a planetary battle. So
that'd be awesome.
The fact that they could do it back then, even on a small kind of scale like that, that shows that it is possible. So I would hope that. I don't think they're going to do it in this, because I don't think they think that way. But it's certainly I'm with you. That would be phenomenal. So okay, B, your last one then.
Yes. So my last one is, weirdly, I haven't actually seen a great deal. I know they've put out some gameplay stuff and some trailers. I've only seen a few little bits of it, but it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The main reason being, even though I think there's way too many Spider-Man films, and I'd like to see some different superhero films other than Spider-Man, got that out of the way. Everyone back in the day remembers the Spider-Man 2 game.
It was the trendsetter. It was the groundbreaking game.
It was. It was, and although now it may not stand up test of time as well, and there's only so many times you can catch someone who's jumping from a building
or rescue balloons,
or rescue balloons. But the first few times you played that game, that was next gen.
Yeah,
you never got tired of swinging around the city and running off the edge of a building because it was just you were Spider-Man. There was no other way to, in the same way as the first time you play Arkham Asylum. You're Batman. There's no other way to describe it, really. And I think, although there's other superhero characters out there that I think I would love to see a decent next-gen game, Wonder Woman, Superman, I think Spider-Man is a good choice, to be fair. And for what I've seen of it, looks amazing. Now, is this a PlayStation exclusive?
Yeah, this is the only game I've seen since the PS4 was even announced has made me think I need a PlayStation 4. And it was literally, it's from I think 2015 they first announced it, and then last year they showed some stuff for it, and I was like, yeah, I still need to buy a PS4 for that. And yeah, it isn't exclusive, and I'm kind of gutted because I'm probably not going to be able to justify buying a PS4, and I want to play this game.
Do you know when it's out?
It is slated for release in 2018, so no actual time frame as yet, other than a year. But one of the things that's it's quite because this does look like a return to form for those kind of Spider-Man games, because the Amazing Spider-Man games tried to do it on the Xbox One and PS4, so the ones based on the new films, but they went back to that whole kind of you didn't need a building to tie your web off, which really put me off, because being able to web onto clouds is just ludicrous. And this is definitely this is going back to you need a building to hook onto.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing, and Spider-Man seemed quite quippy in the cutscenes, not so much in the general combat, but in the cutscenes he was definitely Spider-Man. But one of the things that seems to have been quite controversial is the costume in it, with the kind of the white trimmings and the white spider on it. And I actually really like the look of it, and apparently there's a reason for it in the game, so we'll see what that reason is. Now I don't know, because they did in the trailer. Miles Morales, who's the new sort of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe and very popular character, he actually appears in it alongside Peter Parker. So I don't know if there's some kind of transition, and whether you maybe go from one to the other, or whether it's just introducing him so you can see these characters live in the same world. I don't know. I'm not sure. They're being a bit tight-lipped on the story. So I don't know whether it's Peter Parker and Miles Morales will have different looks. I don't know, or even if you will play as Miles Morales, but I actually quite liked it because it helps it to stand apart from the films. It's like part of the problem is where we've got Spider-Man Homecoming coming out this year, and when you've got a Spider-Man game coming out, I think people are going to expect it to be the Tom Holland Spider-Man from the new Marvel universe, and it's quite difficult to make it stand out. And one of the ways you can do that is to make Spider-Man look different. And it does look a bit odd, but I actually really like the look of it with the white, and I'll be interested to see what the story reasons for it that they're banging on about are. But what about you? I mean, did that put you off? Did you think that looks a bit stupid? What were your thoughts just on the costume?
No, it didn't put me off at all, because I was too busy looking at him. Do you know what I mean? And just thinking, wow. So, no, not at all. I'm interested to see what's the reasoning behind it, but I'm not... he looks like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay,
there's a couple of... most heroes these days change up the costumes anyway. You only have to look at Injustice 2 for that. So no, I'm all good with it, to be honest.
Casey, have you got anything else?
Yep. My last game will be Assassin's Creed Origins. Well, the last game I'll mention, not the last game I'll ever play, I hope.
I was going to say, you're setting yourself up for it.
Yeah, ever the optimist there. Yeah, it's... Assassin's Creed is a funny series for me. The only one I've ever completed was Black Flag, actually. I really enjoyed that. But I had the first one, the second one. I can't remember if I had any more beyond Black Flag. But I just bounced off them. They're games that I feel I should like because they appeal to the stabby nature, guilty pleasure. I saw the trailer for Assassin's Creed Origins yesterday, and the Egypt setting looks really interesting, and I must admit the main thing I really liked was the bit where the character is standing on top of a gold capped pyramid sliding down, and it just looks gorgeous, the sunlight and everything and the life around the character. But when I looked into it a bit more, they've actually it's that evolution rather than revolution thing. Apparently, you can now fast forward through time. So if you would want to be somewhere at night, you can skip to night and things like that. It'll help your assassinations. NPCs have schedules, and within a few hours, the map opens up completely. Apparently, there's all sorts of little touches that make it sound interesting and more appealing than other Assassin's Creed games have to me in the past. I mean, I'm not going to expect any great departure from anything. I mean, you know what you're getting with an Assassin's Creed game, even if they have tinkered with it. But it sounds interesting, and as I said, the locales and everything look amazing. And there's also, I don't know if you're aware of this, Sant, with your love of special editions, there's an Assassin's Creed Origin special edition.
I've actually got that down to talk about, yeah.
You have? And I'm struggling to see where that price comes from, because
there's a 28-inch statue in it, isn't there?
Oh yeah, well yeah, 28 inches quite big, isn't it?
and then you also get a certificate that's got a number between 1 and 1,000 on it.
Oh wow!
And I don't. Yeah, like you, I don't understand where that price tag's come from.
No, I mean,
how much is it?
It's 700 quid.
What?
No,
I mean,
no. Hang on. It's $700. It's £631.
Oh, well,
let's not exaggerate.
I'm looking at £699 on the article.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
But I mean, wasn't it one of the Saints Row games? They did like £1 million version with only one, but you got like two real cars in it and everything, and you can sort of see where the value was going. But I must admit, for 700 quid, there doesn't seem, I'd expect a 4K telly in there.
Yeah, well, you do get 2 whole steel books. But
I mean, I'm sure it'll appeal to some, but that's just mind-boggling. I'd get an Xbox One One X with that.
That's exactly what I said at work. Like, you know what? I'll buy an Xbox One X and a PS4 rather than that. But yeah, I mean, Origins is a funny one for me because I'm like you actually. I wasn't really interested in Assassin's Creed until Black Flag, when I just wanted to play it for the piratey stuff. And I really enjoyed it, and I actually really enjoyed the Assassin's Creed gameplay because I think obviously they've got it really refined by that point. And then I've played Rogue, and I've not played any of the others. I've got Unity because I picked it up for 79p.
Well, that's worth that.
So I thought, well, I've got that, and then it's there to play. And Amy actually bought Syndicate, and I think she really enjoyed that, what she played of it, 'cause like me, she doesn't really have as much time as she'd like to play games these days. But Origins, I'm really intrigued by the setting, because it's one of those settings that we don't visit often enough, I don't think. And there do seem to be... they seem to be talking about a lot of gameplay. It seems to be a bit more role-play-ish. The skill tree's a bit more... There's more to the skill tree. Everything seems to be leveled. So I noticed in a few gameplays, he's walking around and you were level 21, and all the guards are level 20, which I think is both good and bad. Because while I love a good RPG, I also think you can get into the trap of, if everything's leveled, why would you go back to a level 1 area when you're level 20? Because everyone will be too easy to kill. You won't be getting any experience. So you won't be progressing. So why would you go back there? And the flip side of that is they do like Oblivion and Skyrim did, which is they level up the world with you. And if you're doing that, what's the point of having leveling in the first place? Because everything's going to be a challenge no matter what. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but it does look like when you actually get into a fight proper, so when you're not just jumping on people and slitting their throats from on high, which I agree is fun, it does look like the combat is a bit more sort of Dark Soulsy, for want of a better word, where it's not just if you attack, you'll step in quickly and stab them. You have to be in the right position to attack, and you have to be defending. The dude's got a bow in it. I'm always interested in bows. Yeah. And yeah, it just looks cool. The wildlife looks interesting. There's hippos, there's flamingos. You don't often see a flamingo in a game.
No, they're very underrepresented.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one that really intrigues me, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on it yet. I do keep flipping back and forth with it. Same with Far Cry 5 actually. Again another Ubisoft game, but I keep seeing things that make me think, yeah, this is going to be really good. I'll get it when it comes out, and then I could come back to maybe I'll get it later, or actually I'll give it a miss. So both those games are a bit like that for me. But yeah, B, are you excited for Assassin's Creed Origins, or not bothered?
Not bothered really. I think I haven't watched a trailer for it or anything like that. I mean, I'm a bit I'd like to go back to play. I'd like to finish Black Flag, because I did really enjoy Black Flag, so I'd like to go back to that. But once you played one Assassin's Creed game, they're very much variations on the theme, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, this one, as I say, it does seem to be trying to switch things up a bit, but it does, as Casey was saying, I watched a few videos of people playing at it, it still looked like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, the British one, is that Unity?
No, that's
set in London.
Syndicate.
Oh, okay. That quite interests me. I quite like the look of that, just because it's in London.
It's nice to see different settings being represented in games, and like I say, with Syndicate, because it's Victorian London, which is a brilliant era to set a game in, and more games should be set in that area. And the same with Egypt, ancient Egypt. It's a phenomenally rich environment and culture, and everything. I mean, literally rich as well when you think about ancient Egypt. So yeah, it's one of those areas that I think is underrepresented. So it's almost like, yeah, I'm willing to give it a go based on that alone. Really, if it's got a really good story and great gameplay, then that's obviously amazing bonuses.
Yeah, I don't know how much the if at all the Animus stuff is still in it, because that was something I wasn't that keen on in the other games. I understand why they included the sort of the meta style, waking up in the real world and going back in type thing, but I would have much preferred it if it was just a straight, you're an assassin in this time, go forward.
Yeah.
Don't keep pulling me back to the modern day in some cubicle and telling me my targets haven't been hit. It's annoying.
I think it's still there purely based on the fact that in the trailer it was saying things like synchronization achieved, which is always what you get when you unlock an area of the map and stuff, or when you've completed a mission. So I think that element's still there, and I imagine it'll be some kind of like Templars trying to go, because it's meant to be about the first assassin or one of the first assassins. So I imagine it'll be them trying to race against time to find the original assassin kind of thing that made them superhuman or whatever.
Find the MacGuffin. Find
the current MacGuffin, because being as the apples have all been eaten. But yeah, so is there anything else anyone wants to touch on before we fully wrap up? Because we've been here for a while now, and longer than I thought we'd be. So and anything else?
I think I'm all good. I can't think of anything I was going to add.
B?
No, I think I'm all good.
Cool. Okay, well that was our thoughts on E3 then. I think there's quite a varied sort of range of styles of game and games as well, which largely thanks Casey for coming on, because I know you give us sort of a different perspective, because my PC gaming is minimal. I always say I need to do more PC gaming, and I do. I just never seem to get around to doing it. So it's good to have you on to actually get that sort of perspective as
Thanks for having me.
So no, that's brilliant. Thanks for joining us. And B, always a pleasure to have you on, sir.
Always a pleasure to be on.
So thanks very much for listening. Let us know if you've got any thoughts on what we've talked about, or any games from E3 that you think we should have talked about. And you can drop us a line at thenextlevel_gs@yahoo.co.uk, or you can find us on Twitter, which is at thenextlevel_gs, and obviously there's the Geek Syndicate website. So thanks very much, and we will see you all next time, whenever that may be.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Shall we play a game? Shall we play a game?